Happy New Year's. Merry New Year's. So I did the raffle. So each month I'm going to do a raffle, and I'm going to be giving away a lot more money in the future. I just wanted to do the $20 for the December raffle, just to get used to how this website works. So what am I doing? So I just sent the gift card to the winner, whatever his name is, Aman. Aman won. I just sent him the $20 Amazon gift card. I emailed him. So it's a real raffle. I've done these things before, so don't think I'm just doing it to get subs. So every month, so the January raffle, you have until January 31st to submit your email. All you have to do is provide your email. So I have a way to contact you. I'm going to do 5 $20 gift cards for the January raffle. I'm going to choose it on February 1st. And then hopefully I can do more money, like a $100 Amazon gift card or even $500. Obviously, short squeeze coming, like Kaba Edit also. What did I say? FTFT? Is that the ticker? FTFT? Future FinTech Group. 6 million market cap. I'm not sure if you were talking about that. So IonQ, I started doing a video on that company. These quantum computing companies are it's like the new it's like the new, like I'm not going to say it's a pump and dump scheme, but it's a new like trend or fad. Fad is a good word to explain it. There wasn't like a YouTube streaming like in the 80s and 90s, but if there was, we would be talking about the .com fad, and then remember the EV fad. I mean, and then after EVs, because everybody was buying EVs in like 18, 19, 2020. Tesla is really the only EV that has kind of worked out. Most other EV stocks are garbage. What is it? The AI. It's right now we're AI fad is kind of like fizzling out. It's still there, but quantum computing is a new fad that that's the thing with investing. You don't have to invest in a company that is successful. You just have to time these fads, and you have to sell out before it crashes, because you would lose if you invested in just what like remember the meme stocks like GameStop, those kind of stocks. It's okay to invest in it, but you got to get out before the crash, because most people lose. It's like 95% of the people who invest in these kind of things, companies that are losing a lot of money, most people lose most of their investment, if not all their investment, and only a small percentage, probably like 1 out of every 50 people, makes money from it. So IonQ, this is that industry screenshot I show in my videos, but I added the 52-week high and low and percent from 52-week high and low. So this is interesting. So IonQ, it's currently trading at 42. So it's currently trading at 42. So its 52-week high is 48, and its 52-week low is 657. So it's only 13% below its 52-week high. So generally, I mean, you could always buy a stock that's trading at an all-time high, but ideally you want to get a stock before it hits its all-time high. That's not to say it can't go higher, of course, but it would be nice to get in, and then you automatically get some upside potential. So it's only trading 13% below its 52-week high, but it's trading 536% above its 52-week low, because the 52-week low was 657. Let's try to do the math just to make sure the math ties out. So if you did get a 657, which would be amazing, you're already up $35.43 per share. I'm just curious if the 536 is accurate, because I just pulled this off from a website. Yeah, it's pretty accurate. I'm at 539. I bet it's actually 41.77, not 42. So it's exactly 536%. So I confirm this website is accurate that I pulled this from. But look at this, quantum computing. That's a perfect stock name, because it's the name of the fad, quantum computing fad. So Quantum Computing Inc. is up 3,800% from its 52-week low, and I bet you it's losing a ton of money. You can see their free cash on the trailing 12 months is negative 19 million. PE of 3,100. PS of 3,100. And a price of sales above 10 is pretty high, and this is 3,100. I got IonQ at $15. That's pretty nice. You're up 200%. Like Rigetti, QUBT, but both could go lower. Yeah, Rigetti is another big one. QUBT. Yeah, so are we too late for the quantum computing fad? I don't know. I think it'll be, the hard part is, even if you buy a stock, when it goes up, you usually don't want to sell it because you think it could keep going up. This is just the mentality of the average investor. So say you buy 100 shares. Of any stock. So you invested $2,000. I don't like the cents. Quantity. So say there's a stock that's $20 and you bought 100 shares. So you pay $2,000. So usually when it goes up, like if it hits like your investment is $3,400, you think it's going to keep going up, so you don't sell. You hope it keeps going up, and if it does, great. Say it goes up to 57.80. Anytime a stock goes up, you just assume it's going to go up forever. And when a stock goes down, we always assume it's going to go down forever, even though that never happens, almost never. There's usually a point when it stops going up or stops going down and it starts to reverse. But even if you are 57.80 and you bought it for $2,000, if it goes down to, say, $4,000, people don't like to sell because they're like, God, it was 57.80 and now it's 4,000. I just don't want to sell. I could have sold it at 57.80. So you convince yourself to hold it because you think it's going to come back, and then it it goes down to 28.32. So now you're only like, you're not even that far above your 2,000 buy-in, and you are almost at 6,000. So we just always just psychologically, we just keep riding it out, and either we lose most of it, or we make a lot of money. Like, we have a hard time just letting go. I know I do. That's why I try to pick really good stocks, because really good stocks tend to do well over time. Even if there's dips, I just wait it out. With crappy stocks like this, like an IonQ, you just don't know. Because even some stocks, like there's some really great companies like Amazon, Apple, and they sometimes go a stretch of a year or two with just downside. I know Meta back in 2021, it had like a really bad year, and it took like a while to get back. Even Apple, like there's you can see points where even though it's the most valuable company, or well, I guess Nvidia is, right? It's really hard to tell. There were down parts here, but you can't tell because it's so low. But even in September 2018, it was 54. And then it went down to 37. So in 4 months, it went down like 20%. So around September 2018. So even a year later, from September 2018 to September 2019, you didn't make any money on Apple. So 1 full year of no upside with Apple, which is tough, because in 2018, they were easily the best company in the world. Them and Microsoft were top 2. And then you think, God, what am I I can't even make money on Apple. And look, there was a January 2022 to July 2023. So that's 2.5 years. No, 1.5 years. 1.5 years of no upside. And even at some points, if you did get it at the higher point, you could have been down like 40% for most of the time. But you just wait with Apple. You could just wait a year. You might have to wait 2 years or 3 years, but it always comes back. But with these kind of stocks, with an IonQ, it's pretty risky. Look how well it's doing. It just in August, just 4 months ago, it was $9, and now it's 45. Damn, I wish I bought options. I guess you never know this stuff. Every time I seem to buy options, it options is a time limit. So you if you put like $1,000 in options, you have to pick a time, like maybe a month, 3 months, 6 months out. But your downside is much more aggressive, and your upside is much more aggressive. So if you put $1,000 into a stock, and even if the stock doubled, went up 100% over 3 months, you only have 2,000. But with options, it could be 5,000. You could 5x your investment. But if it goes down 30% from 100 to 700, that's a 30% drop. But with options, it could be like 200, like an 80% drop. It's so much more aggressive. But anyway, so this is the industry chart. IonQ is in the computer hardware industry. These are the top 10 companies. So most companies are not meme stocks. Most companies are not in the quantum computing space. Rigetti is, quantum computing is, but these top companies are big. Dell has been around for decades. Arista is a really big company. It's not as, it doesn't have as long a history as Dell, but real big company. HP has been around probably close to 100 years. Pure Storage. So why is IonQ? So let's I was gonna look at their 10Q. Their revenue did double. It was 6 million last year. It's 12 million this year. So, and if you like own a business, or even if you just invest, how percentages. It's not always about how much percent you went up or growth. Because if you put $600 into a stock and a stock tripled, you can't retire. But if you put 25,000 into a stock, that's pretty good money for most people. But really doubling from 6 million to 12 million, it's almost like nothing, because they have a 9 billion market cap. Is it right? Yeah, 9 billion market cap. So you would hope, it depends on the industry, but like, let's use the median for the industry. It's a 3. I'm rounding up to 3. Did I do that right? So there's their market cap. Revenue. So let's just say they were at the median for the market, and a 3 makes sense for a price sales ratio. Look at Arista. They're 21. They're really overvalued according to their price multiples. But a company that's doing well, that's not in a hyper growth stage, or a company that's not been around like 100+ years, that's kind of like now winding down. Just a normal everyday company, a 3 would make sense. So if they were a normal company, you would expect 3 billion of revenue. I'm basing it off of their market cap, of course. So you would expect their quarterly revenue, because that's what we're looking at right now, is 750 million, just to be like appropriately priced. And they went from, this is for the most recent quarter. They went from 6 million to 12 million. So 100% revenue growth is really good as a percentage. But when you start with such a low number, it's like I doubled my investment, and you would think, wow, you doubled your investment. Yeah, I had $20 and I doubled to $40. Who really cares about that? But if you said I'm up 50% and I put 100K into my portfolio, I'm up 50% this year. So 100K to 150K, that's significant. That's real money. Even if you're a millionaire, 50K is nice. So we'll use the higher number. And So this is what I'm trying to convey, is that so we're expecting them to have quarterly revenue of $750 million just to be appropriately priced. And their actual revenue is 12.4 million, which is double last year, which I'm not going to use last year's number. It doubled, but it's still it's less than 2% of what they should generate as a company, just to be even thought of as an investment. Let me show, like, say your friend had a small business, like a little grocery store in the town you guys live in, right? And so you said, okay, what's your revenue? And he said, oh, okay, it's $1 million. And you say, okay, so how much are you trying to sell the business to me for? And he said, well, I'm looking to sell it for half revenue, because I make about $150,000 a year from the business. So I'm looking to sell it for half revenue, $500,000. So you would look at it and you would think, okay, it's not crazy. I mean, it seems a little high, but it's not like it doesn't make any sense as an investment. You would obviously talk them down, maybe like 300,000 you think is a better appropriate. But let's just say, instead of your friend wanting to, say your friend wants to sell, say you're another friend who has next town over, has a grocery store. He also wants to sell his business for $500,000. So in your mind, you're thinking, at least he needs to at least have $1 million of revenue, because I know my friend in we'll call it town A and town B. You said, because your friend in town A had $1 million of revenue, and he's looking for the same price. He's also looking to sell $500,000. And granted, you think it's high, but at least that's a reference point, right? And then in town B, you said, so how much is your revenue? And it was 1.7% of what you're expecting it to be. Because you're expecting $1 million to at least be on par with your friend. And he's like, oh, my revenue is $16,000. And you were like, why would I pay $500,000? And your revenue is only $16,000. Even if he had no expenses, you no rent, you didn't have to pay for any food, it's all free. Which is not possible, of course. You could have expenses, but even if you had no expenses at all, the most you can make is $16,000. That's what I'm saying. That's what, like, this company is. That's the analogy for this company, is you're expecting the $1 million of revenue and $16,000, and that's how they're priced right now. They're priced. It just doesn't make any sense. Is that good? Did you guys like that analogy? And I know it's different. It's a lot different, because we're not pricing in the future. Like, when we look at fundamentals, we're really pricing into what they're doing today or the past. And then, of course, we're trying to estimate the future. So that's how far off. It's like it's day and night. It's not even in the same stratosphere. Your friend in town B, you're like, that makes no sense. At least your friend in town A, you could kind of like understand where he's coming from. And then because he starts high, then you go, okay, I'm gonna offer you $350. And then he comes up to $450, and you do this back and forth till you get to the right price. So he'll probably end up coming down like 20+% on his price because everybody starts high. Same thing with this company. But you would like with your friend in town B, you can't even. I've had people offer me businesses because I used to run a small business, and a lot of times, not just like a lot of times, it was like town B. Like they're like, so they say, okay, we're looking to sell the business for this is a true story, like $250,000, and I'm like, I didn't even want to come back with an offer. I'm like, it's not even, we're not even in the same world. I'm not going to even, like, it just doesn't make sense because I'm at 50. I was at 50. My offer, but I wasn't going to offer them 50 when they started at 250 because I knew we would never get there. That's kind of like in this situation. All of these quantum companies are so extremely overvalued. And it's just like same thing with the EV industry or any industry. If anybody was connected to EV, the valuation was so high. But as the years progress, most of the companies go bankrupt, and a bunch of them are still in business, like NEO, but the stock is down 80% from its high. The only one company has succeeded in terms of its valuation. I'm not saying there's some EV cars that are good companies, but they weren't worth like it was like 100 billion market cap for. There was a few EVs companies that didn't even have revenue. They were like came out once they started trading. Within 3 months, they were 100 billion market cap, more than like GM. It's just a valuation. It doesn't make sense, but you could make a lot of money. You could make a lot of money because just because it's trading close to its 52-week high right now. I mean, if the stock peaks at like 170 or 180, even if it comes way back down, you could make a really nice return timing it. It's just if that's your game. I just can't do it. I don't really like to invest like that. ARQQ has a price sales of 670. Is that ARC? ARQQ? No, Arqit. Yeah, it's not, and that's a pretty small company for a publicly traded, 485 million. So they don't really generate any revenue. Is this not a? This is a foreign company. It must be. Okay, in the UK. So this is like a big red flag. When you see, obviously revenue going down is a red flag, but this is different. This is they had 7 million of revenue. It's not a lot of revenue, but 7 million probably makes sense. ARQQ. ARQQ. Look at this. Look at the chart. It's ridiculous. You can't even look at it. It's like such a okay. So it was trading for most of 2024. It was trading between $5 and $20, and then it hit 30. So it went up like about maybe 4 or 5x from its average price. So it was probably 7 million market cap. I mean, 7 million of revenue probably made sense because it was probably what's the market cap? 485 million. So it was probably like 150 million market cap like 6 months ago. Still 7 million is a little rich, but it makes sense. Kind of makes sense. But then their revenue a year later dropped from 7,640,000, then dropped the following year another 50% to 300,000. And I mean, I might be wrong, but when I see this, like, this is like a normal company that's declining in revenue. Most companies' revenue goes up. So 100 million. Lumen was like this for a while. Their revenue was going down dramatically. Lumen was going down like 10-15% a year, but like some companies are just in a phase where they're just kind of like, they're not going out of business, but they're just losing a lot of customers, market share. So you see revenue kind of looking like this, 100 million down to 88 million. It won't be as smooth, but like a progression down. And you kind of know what's going on. They're probably losing market share. There's probably some bigger, more innovative companies that are taking the business, but they're still an active entity. 88 million is still from where they started from. But this, like, they just changed their entire business model. Because how do you go from 7 million to 640,000? So 7.2. But that's what a lot of these companies are. There's this new quantum computing like fad, like we said. So companies just hop on. They're like, this is a way to make money. So they totally get they totally, I'm trying to make sure I do the math right. They totally abandon their current business model and now they're doing AI. So in 2023, their revenue went down 91% from 7.2 to 640,000. Did I do the yes right? Yeah. Then in 2024, it went down another 54%. So just kind of like just totally changing their business model. It's kind of like Nike. They sell sneakers, and then one day they just abandon the sneakers and start selling like I don't know, semiconductor chips, or they just totally change their business model. Imagine that's really the only thing. Let me look. That makes sense. Does anybody know like why their revenue went down 90? This is even weirder. Okay, so revenue. Also, they had zero revenue in 2020 and 2021, 48K in 20. So 2.7 million in 2021. Oh, that's why, because their accounting year ends September. The accounting year ends September. That's why it's different in the outfinding. So 48,000 in 2021, 7.2 million in 2022, which is what we have. 2023, 640K. So we have that. So the revenue was $48,000 in 2021, it went up 15,000% to 7.2 million. Then it went down 91% to 640,000. It doesn't give you like a cozy and warm feeling about the company when you see something like this. It just. But why did they change so much? Rigetti has a price sales ratio of 200. All the quantum companies are like EVs and hype. Hype. That's a good word. It's just all hype, and it's just like EV. It's like the internet. The internet was life changing, but there were so many companies that like went bankrupt during the .com crash, and there's companies like Amazon who flourished. So there will be companies that, but if you're going to throw a dart, you're going to probably lose all your money, because it would have been hard to pick Amazon out of all those companies, because they were just selling books. I didn't think Amazon would have been a giant like it was, and they've evolved. Because you'd be surprised, selling physical goods is not a great business model. Like if you look at a retail store, like either a supermarket or a Macy's, any type of retail store like that, the margins aren't that great, because the product eats up so much margin, because you have to buy the product in order to sell it. And then you have to ship the product, and you have to staff, you have to payroll, things like that. So retail is not, I mean, it's a stable business. You definitely could have demand, but it's not in terms of profitability. Of course, e-commerce is much more efficient and profitable than brick and mortar retail, but it's still not that profitable. You'd be surprised how little Amazon makes on their e-commerce business. If it wasn't for cloud computing, that's why they're AWS, Amazon Web Services. That's why they're so valuable. But it's a good business. You could be an eBay. eBay is a great company. They're profitable, but eBay is not valued even close to Amazon. And for a long time, they were doing identical things, but eBay doesn't do cloud computing. eBay's market cap is 30 billion, and like if you had to put $10,000 into like either Amazon or eBay, of course you'd be doing much better with Amazon. But if you put 10,000 to eBay, like I'm talking about, like, almost 20 years ago, if you thought one of them was going to be, you wouldn't be losing money with eBay. You'd still be up, like, it was $8 20 years ago. I mean, you could have timed it and got it for like $2, but let's just say you got it for $8. You still be up 600%. You wouldn't be like, but you wouldn't be up 50,000% like Amazon is. Happy New Year. Yeah. But they're both winners in my book. It's kind of like eBay is just the team that won one World Series, and Amazon won like 30 World Series. They're just a different level, but they're both winners. I mean, they're much better. Like there's so many companies that of the 10,000 .com companies, like 9,800 went bankrupt. I mean, I'm just making up numbers. I don't know the exact stats. Okay, so yeah, IonQ. But does anybody know that other company we just looked at, why they're ARQQ? What about Zoom? Didn't quite understood how they managed that level of profitable. ZM is Zoom, right? Yeah, Zoom. Yeah, they really had the opportunity, right? Zoom. But when I started using Zoom in 2020, I was like, this is great. It's amazing. Like everybody's using their video platform and it works. It's not crashing. Like all the other sites are crashing. And I like the bit, like what they do. I think they have a good business, but it is kind of, it's really, really, it's really small. Like it's really like they have a tiny sliver of, like they have one product, pretty much. And the problem is when you have one product, I mean, I just think now the competition is doing it just as well. Like there's a lot of, like, Microsoft is doing what Zoom does, and Amazon, lots of companies. So it's just too, they're not that special. They're not that important. Like, well, I have to use Zoom because it doesn't really matter to me. When I talk to somebody, when I have a video conference call, I don't need to be on Zoom. It's kind of like my iPhone. I don't need it, but I kind of need it in a sense because it's so good. It's so much better. Zoom, I don't need to have Zoom. I don't obviously need an iPhone to live. I don't. It's not like food, but I'm willing to pay a premium because that's how good it is. And of course, it's there's so much that goes into that phone. Zoom is just like a one-trick pony kind of thing. So I don't think. I wish I would have. I mean, I didn't. I knew it was gonna it's a good stock, but I didn't realize it was gonna blow up. And by the time I realized it, it was already past the point. Like when I really understood Zoom and how great it was probably already, it was March 2020 was COVID shutdown. So it was probably like May or June of 2020. So the stock was already went from like pre-COVID, like $60. It already like went up about 4x to 250. So it was hard to buy when it was 250, even though it doubled from that point. But it was hard to buy because that's when I really realized how good the product was. But if I would have bought it, I would have definitely lost a lot of money because I wouldn't have sold at 500. I probably would have held out and then end up losing a lot. Happy New Year. You don't have to. Sorry about your manners. I didn't even. I'm a new subscriber. I watched a few of the videos and like them. Yeah, thanks a lot. Screen blurry. Please adjust camera. It's not my camera. It's your camera. Because does anybody have a blurry screen? It could be your internet connection because there's no way it's my camera. It could be your settings. Your settings in. Let me know. Does anybody have a blurry screen? It could be your settings in YouTube. I think you can change. I'm not sure how to say it. Let me open a video. I think it'll be easier to. Yeah, screen should be fine. I think underneath the video on this, the bolt or the screw, then there's these different settings, but quality, if you change the quality, it might be different on other people's computer, but try HD 1080p if that doesn't work. But after you change it, give it 10 seconds to refresh. If that doesn't work, try 720p. Like change one of these and it'll fix it. No, because a lot of people said that, oh, your camera, or I spent so much money on the microphone and the camera. They're so expensive. And I got like the premium internet service. So like, but anyways, I wonder how eBay do this year. Probably did well. Because I do like eBay a lot. I still use eBay. Yeah, it did really well. In January 2024, it's 40. It did do that well. I mean, it did well, I guess. Like it from bottom to top, it went up like 60%. That's assuming you bought on the bottom and sold at the top. But even if you got in January 1st, 2024, so at 44, and you sold it on the very last day, you still made 50%. That's a pretty good return. Okay, so IonQ. Yeah, I wonder that other company, what was it called? ARQQ? AR. Quantum Investor Relations. So, if you want the true hard facts, you do the SEC filings. This is not an American company. What's the annual report for a British company? 10K equivalent for British company. AR01. Does anyone know the what's the annual report name for British stocks? What is the British stock market called? How do I find a company's annual report in UK? I don't know. So I was saying, if you want the true hard facts of a company, obviously you need to be able to like kind of like understand financials a bit. So it makes it a little tricky. But you go to the 10K or 10Q. But if you want like a dumbed down version or a prettier version with pictures and colors, you go to that presentation. I do like the presentations also because they don't even have any presentations. Why do they advertise presentations? And then when I go to the, oh, here we go. Here we go. The 20F. But they don't lie in other reports, I'm saying, but they just don't have to give all the information, all the detail. Okay, let's see. So you could see here, the 2022 revenue 7.2 million, down to 640K, down to 290K. I would hope they would talk about the reason for the decline. Because right here, negative 91%. That's what I had on my Excel file, right? Negative 91%. So here, revenue decreased 6.6 million from 7.2 million to 640K. So this is what I wanted to know. The decrease was due to the time required to establish revenue generation through channel partnerships following Arqit's change. So I knew they changed their business model. So due to their change in sales model from primarily enterprise sales to sales through channel partners. So they just totally changed their business, which is you're allowed to do. It's your business, and it's up to the investors to decide whether they want to invest in you. So they're trying to ride the AI wave, and they did a good job in terms of pumping their stock price, because people are going to buy the stock, even if you have nothing to do with quantum computing. Even if you, in terms of sales and business, if you just say it somewhere, if it's, people just buy the stock, they think it's I bet you there's a lot of insider selling, a lot of insiders selling their stock. We don't get, like, they don't really talk about it because it's a British company. I noticed that on Simply Wall Street, if it's not a U.S. company, they don't really list the insider activity, all of it. If you really want to know the true insider activity, it would be, for American companies, I know where it is, but for a company like this, it would be in the press release. Yeah, like a press release. They did a $13 million. They sold 13 million of stock. A new CEO was in September. Like, significant changes. They did a 25-for-1 reverse stock split. Because a lot of people just Google this stuff, like did ARQ do a reverse stock split? Like, if you think they did, and you'll probably find it through this, but these are just news articles, and sometimes it's just like blogs, so you're relying on someone else to give you the information. Arqit is a leader in quantum safe encryption. They did 25-for-1 reverse stock split. Well, obviously they did it because the share price got lower. I wonder if they talk about the reason. Well, it's like a cause and effect, right? We know the effect because the stock price was below $1, so they do a reverse stock split. But what was the cause of that effect? It was probably because they weren't making money, or so by implementing a 25-for-1 reverse stock split, the company expects to regain compliance with NASDAQ's minimum $1 bid price. The company was notified by NASDAQ of its failure to maintain a $1 price for 30 consecutive trading days. So the NASDAQ sends the company a letter saying, for the past 30 trading days, you were below $1, so you run the risk of getting delisted. So most companies, in order to their stock price to go up, most companies will start running a better business. Like, they may acquire another company, or they may start making their products better so they get more sales. Another way to do it is just do a reverse stock split. So you just kind of artificially push the price higher, but it doesn't change anything. It's still, if you own 10,000 of stock before the split, it's 10,000 after the split. You just have less shares, but each share is worth more. Okay, so 25. Let's see how do they make the 293,000 revenue? Their SCA platform. I don't know what that is. Arqit SCA platform. So it looks like they acquired a company, formerly known as Quantum Cloud. So they acquired this company, Quantum Cloud. Now they call it Scott Platform. Enables organizations to simplify and strengthen their encryption on a global basis. Let's see. Quantum Cloud. I don't know if this is Quantum. I think this is a different company. Okay. What does Arqit Quantum do? Is Arqit Quantum a good investment? Who is the founder of Arqit? Okay, well, I mean, that's generally how it goes. Like you, if you, it doesn't matter if you keep doing the same business you did in the past, or you change your business model, which they did. Most companies start acquiring other companies, and then also maybe start manufacturing more, whatever it is. They just do more of it. Oh, MSTR. Yeah, I'm short MSTR. I sold put options on MSTR. And when you sell options, expect to lose everything, because that's probably what's going to happen if you sell options. I mean, if you buy options. Well, any option trade. Usually, if you buy calls or puts, expect to lose everything. There's a high chance of you losing everything. Of course, you want to make a lot of money, but that's why it's pretty risky, because you're playing with time. I didn't time it that perfectly. I mean, it's hard to time it perfectly because it was 470 at the peak. I don't know where I bought it, but I'm glad it's coming down because I'm shorting it. So I want it to come down, as low as it can go, really, because the lower it goes down, the more money I make. But they're just they're using leverage to buy Bitcoin. So they're just selling what's it called? Convertible. They're selling convertible debt to buy Bitcoin. And they're selling a lot of convertible debt. So they're outperforming Bitcoin. They're doing better than Bitcoin. And the reason is because of the leverage they're using to buy Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin goes up, their stock goes up even more, because it's kind of like if you so say you invest in gold, right? $10,000 in gold, and gold goes up 20%. You're gonna be up 20%. You kind of move with gold. But if your friend bought 10,000 of gold, but he only put 1,000 of his own money, and the other 9,000 was used, was like the bank's money. So he makes more money because even though okay, so your investment, okay, So you put 10,000 into gold, it goes up 20%. So you're up $2,000. So in order for you to make $2,000 on gold, you had to lay out $10,000. That's normally how it works, right? But your friend also bought 10,000 of gold, right? But it bucks. And he still hadn't. He's still up $2,000 on his investment, like you are. You're both up $2,000. But he only laid out $1,000 in order to make it $2,000, and you laid out 10,000 to make 2,000. So he's doing much better, percentage wise. That's kind of like, well, I think there's a decent chance I'll lose my entire investment. So of course I want it to go down because I bought puts. Wait, MicroStrategy buys Bitcoin again, stocks fall, stock falls. Wait, you said then with this new developed strategy, of course, I could still make a video while I have my puts. There's no, I just tell it like it is. What do you mean that new strategy? You mean buying Bitcoin with convertible debt, right? Is there another strategy, something else that they did? MicroStrategy buys Bitcoin. MicroStrategy announced a purchase of 209 million in Bitcoin Monday. The company has now announced new Bitcoin purchases for 8 consecutive weeks. Latest round. They're the largest holder of Bitcoin in the world, MicroStrategy. Shares were down 6% in early afternoon trading as Bitcoin prices retreated. What is the price? Is it still over 100,000 Bitcoin? 94,000. Okay. So it did come down. Bought more Bitcoin in the past week, making it 8 weeks in a row. The software company turned Bitcoin player. You know, they used to be a software company. Now they buy Bitcoin. I mean, it's working out, but it's not a good business. You know, you can't make money by buying. You make money by like selling a product or service. You don't make money by just buying stuff and hoping the price goes up. You could make money, but as a long-term strategy, you can't really. Well, I guess if Bitcoin goes up forever, I guess it's like the same thing as Buffett. Same thing as Buffett. Buffett is just buying companies. He doesn't make any products, so sell anything. He just buys companies and hopes they go up. So I guess same thing. I guess if Bitcoin goes up forever, then they'll make money. I guess it makes sense then. The Bitcoin purchases over the past week were funded through at-the-market share sales. MicroStrategy's previously announced 21 for 21 strategy. Okay, I thought they did something different. That's what you were saying. I did a full video talking about you know, everything like this. So I did a video on MicroStrategy. But it's pretty amazing when a company outperforms the underlying thing they invest in. It's like a gold mining company outperforming gold. It's just, it doesn't make sense. But they're doing it with leverage, so then, and even though they're they're buying Bitcoin with convertible securities, they're not taking much risk themselves, because they're just using how come they're using investor funds to buy it, that's how all companies start out. They start out with investor funds or debt, I guess, and then they grow and they keep using other people's money, but eventually they start to generate a profit and they give back to their investors. They give a dividend or they buy back stock. Or even if they don't give a dividend or buy back stock, the stock price goes up if they're profitable. That's how they give back too. So at this stage, MicroStrategy is just at the taking stage. And I don't know. I guess if they sell the Bitcoin, they could realize profit. But I guess the stock price goes up as Bitcoin goes up. So people who own a stock are making money. Victor, what's up? Happy New Year. Google is a quantum stock. I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I guess they're part of quantum computing. But the stocks that are quantum stocks, like Rigetti and IonQ and QUBT, those are quantum stocks. So they're just focused strictly on quantum computing, pretty much. So quantum computing fails, those companies are gone. Google isn't really affected from a quantum computing. Like if that fad goes out the window, or even if it stays, like a lot of companies just go out of business. It's just like the EV companies. How many EV manufacturers have gone out of business, even though EVs are still around? So yeah, MicroStrategy. So IonQ, we didn't really get to look at. So half their revenue is specialized quantum computing hardware. Half their revenue is platform consulting and support services. Most of their revenue is in the U.S. But it's okay. This is Arqit, the SCA platform. So they totally abandoned their previous business model. But MicroStrategy totally abandoned their previous business model. They were a software company. Now they just buy Bitcoin. They don't even mine Bitcoin. They just buy it. So they're not going to have any really, their income statement will look awful. Like, look at their revenue, 116 million of revenue, and they have a net loss of 340 million. Because they have to keep taking these large impairments on the Bitcoin assets they hold. Because if Bitcoin goes way up in price, like it has, it's not reflected on their income statement. The only way it'll show up on the income statement, does anybody know? What's the only way what's the only way Bitcoin will show up on the company's income statement? Obviously, it's showing up when they impair the asset. They take these big impairments. So if it goes down, it will show up on the income statement. But what's the only way it'll show up on their income statement? Say it goes way up, Bitcoin. Because you would think the company would, Bitcoin hit $100,000, you would think it would look really impressive. Their income statement would be really, really strong, because the income statement is how profitable a company is, right? And if Bitcoin, I think they paid like $20,000 for Bitcoin, and now in the earlier years when they bought Bitcoin, like 2-3 years ago, yeah, if they sell it, that's the only way they can realize the gain, if they sell it, or realize the loss, if there is a loss. Oh, here it is. So the first time they bought Bitcoin with this new strategy was December 2022. 132,000 Bitcoin. Oh no, that's how many they held. As of December 2022, they had 132,500. They bought 7,500. It looks like in the fourth quarter of 2022, they paid 23,000 per Bitcoin. Then in the first quarter of 2023, they bought 12,000 Bitcoins for 28K each. This is the price they paid. The least they paid was in the second quarter of 23. They paid 27K per Bitcoin. But then you could see the price of Bitcoin went up. In the third quarter of 2023, they paid 39K. In the fourth quarter of 2023, it went up to 65K. Then it actually came down, was flat in the first quarter of 24. Second quarter of 24, it came down to 61,000. But as you know, in the fourth quarter, it's up to 100,000. But the more Bitcoin they buy at 100,000, the better for me, because I want them to buy Bitcoin at these high prices. Because when Bitcoin crashes, the stock will go down much more than the percentage the Bitcoin went down. Because like if Bitcoin goes up, like just as if Bitcoin goes up 10%, it seems like this stock goes up 15%. They beat Bitcoin, but when it goes down, this Bitcoin, this stock will go down more than Bitcoin. That's what I'm kind of banking on. But as a long-term strategy, I don't think Bitcoin's going to go down long-term. I think it'll go up. But I just think once it hit that 100,000 level, I think people just going to sell off. They take in their profits, and then it kind of, the more selling activity there is, when sells are higher than buys, price goes down. And how can you blame people, especially if they bought it for under $1,000 and now it's $100,000? It's life-changing. So they want to take in their gains and sell off. And then when it gets down to a lower point, like obviously it's not a straight line. It's not going to go straight down. But I could see it coming back down to like 50K at some point before it rebounds to the next new high. Bitcoin to 500K by the end of the Trump term. That'd be pretty amazing. Wow, imagine that. Bitcoin 500K. I should put all my money in Bitcoin then if it 500K. That's it kills me. I should have bought it when it was. Yeah, I guess live and learn, right? Okay. This has been kind of a long stream, an hour and 15 minutes. 207, yes, generally because it eliminates. If Bitcoin goes up that much, USD inflation would probably be pretty bad. I don't know. I don't know if it would. I'd have to think about that more. But okay, yeah, thanks for joining the stream. It was a good stream. I gotta finish. IonQ. I got to finish making IonQ. I was in the middle of it. Now I think I have a little more information to say about it. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot for joining.